Welcome to another episode of Inspire Your Essence. I'm your host, Michelle Henderson, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Danielle Matthews. She had an accident that left her with a traumatic brain injury, and the doctors did not give her much hope, but she was resilient. She found a holistic treatment that worked for her, and she wanted to share the journey that she went through for the empowerment and enlightenment that she experienced. Stay tuned. Danielle, I am so excited to have our conversation because you have such an inspirational story that I know a lot of people are going to resonate with and hear and go, wow, I'm in awe with you. But before we get started, what I really want to hear from you is just how do you want people to know who you are? Describe yourself, and not really meaning about what you do, but who you are as a person.
I love how you asked that question. I'm someone that's just trying to figure out this human journey we're on and understand why my soul came here, what I'm meant to learn, how I'm meant to serve, and to really just understand more about that. I mean, that's who I am and what I do in this life. And the rest of it is just extra on top, but that's the core of it.
I absolutely love that because I think you're right. I think we're all trying to figure out this journey.
Mhm.
And in your life journey, and I'm not going to explain anything, but I know that, you're just going along and everything. And then a tragedy happens or an event happens and it tends to change your life.
Completely.
So can you go ahead and explain about your story, your inspirational story?
Yeah.
To us.
Oh, I'd be happy to, Michelle. It's amazing because my sort of background, I grew up middle-class family, like great life. I have a sister, I went to a great university, graduated with distinction from the University of Virginia. I then went on and I was teaching in a low-income area in Colorado. I was doing a program called Teach for America, and life was great. I was living where I wanted to live. Everything was going well. I was snowboarding on the weekends, helping the kids during the week. And I was looking at going on to graduate school. And in the summer, after my second year of teaching, life just, literally changed in a moment. So I was up, it was 7:00 in the morning. I was going to meet my parents actually to go to a wedding, and was leaving Baltimore City. And someone was up, I guess from the night before, was drunk, passed out, and came across the lane and hit my car like head on. Headlight to headlight, smacked me. And, that morning, honestly, Michelle, like I thought I was okay. I was able to get out of the vehicle. I was talking. I looked honestly like I look right now. And when the paramedics came to the scene, like I had rashes from the airbag going off, and I was saying to them, like, I don't feel normal. Like I couldn't figure out how to use my phone, for example, to call my parents. Like I had to have somebody do it for me. I knew the phone number, but like I couldn't figure it out. I was using their phone. Sorry, not my phone, but I was using theirs. So I knew the phone number to call, but I couldn't figure out how to use the phone. Like just should have thrown up a red flag. But everyone said like, oh, you're just in shock. Like that's all it is. And I thought, well, I, for one, have never been in a car accident like this before. So like maybe this is shock. But in the weeks that followed, it became very clear that it was something more than that. I wasn't able to handle light, like just natural light. Felt like someone had a flashlight like directly in my eyes. It was so intense. I couldn't handle noise. It was like I was hearing everything at the same level. So I heard someone cutting with a fork and knife at the same level that I heard the air conditioning and the conversation people were trying to have. And it was just like this cacophony of noise in my head that was just completely overwhelming. And I was feeling dizzy and tired all the time. My personality had changed completely. I was very blunt because I was like constantly overwhelmed. So I did not have any patience. I had migraines that you wouldn't believe. My head felt like it was exploding. And eventually we got into a neurologist who was able to tell me, you've had a mild traumatic brain injury, and, it takes time to clear up. And he said it could clear in a month. It might take 3, it might take 6. And in, the time that was passing, I
Mhm.
attempted to go back to work. I have been an athlete my whole life. You push through things, you keep going, right? And it was like, I'll just handle it. If I can handle anything for a month, 3 months, and it became very clear that like it wasn't clearing. Doctors weren't really having answers for me. I was trying things that are, not really covered by insurance, because, my neurologist basically said, well, just sit at home and just wait. Like there's nothing you can do. So I didn't like that answer.
Right.
So I looked. So did my parents. I did things like hyperbaric oxygen treatments.
Oh, yeah.
I did things like neurobiofeedback. And was an interesting time to have a brain injury, because literally in this time was when more awareness was coming to the NFL about it, to our veterans. The movie Concussion was just coming out. Like there was all of a sudden, like I actually had a friend of mine that was in medical school that said, Danielle, this is like the sexy area of medicine right now. And I was like, well, it's not nice to be on this end of it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh,
So, and it's just wonderful that you just did not forget, you did not give up, and you just kept, saying, I can get through this. Like you said, you were kind of trained to, as an athlete, yeah, you got to get past it.
Yeah.
So thank goodness you already had that. Let me ask you a question before we move on, because a lot of people have difficulty with forgiveness.
mm-hmm.
So, were you able to get through forgiving the person who was driving?
It's so interesting because for me, I think because I was having so many physical issues, I didn't even have the capacity to think about him. And like there were 10 runners that were on the street that morning, and like 5 came to me, 5 went to him, and thankfully, somehow I got their information, or they got mine. And I got an email from one of them that said like, why didn't you come to the hearing today? And I said, what are you talking about? No one told me there was a hearing. And he said, well, you didn't show up. The arresting officer didn't show up. I was the only one there as an eyewitness. And because no one else was there, mostly the arresting officer, all the charges were dropped on this guy. Like he didn't he was basically, I think what's on his record, it's driving without a license, because he wasn't insured. He didn't have a license. It wasn't his car. He was like, it was a mess, like just a mess. Yeah. And
right.
My dad had a really hard time. Like my dad really couldn't forgive. Like he was angry. And I remember seeing my dad's anger and thinking, I don't have the capacity to have those emotions. Like I am so overwhelmed by what I'm dealing with. Like I can't even think about external. And, fast forward now, when I look at it, like hindsight's great, right? Because I can look at that and go, wow, that was an inflection point in my life where something so dramatic happened. I literally lost who I was, and we'll get into that. But it put me on a path that now I'm so grateful to be on. And so I have gratitude for this man. Like, how wild is it that some terrible decision he made turned out to be like the best possible thing that could have unfolded for me? It was not a fun path to walk. But I think you got to look at the bigger picture sometimes. I think everything is unfolding for our highest good. And in the moment when you're in the thick of it, like if someone had said that to me, like, this is the best thing that'll ever happen to you, I probably would have like wanted to punch them. But now it's such a powerful lesson. I can't unknow it. And I've witnessed it now with so many other people, and I hear similar stories. And I'm like, yeah, life is constantly giving us gifts that come in really odd packages, that force us to go deeper within, to ask different questions, to pull different things out from, within ourselves, and thus create a different life.
Absolutely. I love it. And I love it. I love it. I don't know how many times I can say that, because, again, good for you, because I think that's another thing that people do is when they can't forgive, it's harder for them to move on.
Yeah.
And, it just says what a spiritual person you actually are, to continue on and look at it with gratitude, even though a lot of people would say, well, it's not, like you said, if you knew that was going to happen, you would have slapped them.
Exactly. It took me a while to reach where I have, right?
That's a yeah. So okay, let's talk about your healing now, because I know, like you said, you've tried and it's so interesting to me too that your degree was in
Yeah.
biology. And so, and I'm thinking, of course it was so that you could move on for the healing.
Yeah, it's like it's so interesting how it's like life prepared me for this moment and prepared me for what I'm doing
Mhm.
now in ways that like I could not have seen and never my mind never would have
Right.
drawn it all together. So I think
Right.
we'll talk about the physical healing, and I think there's also the mental, emotional, spiritual side, which I'd also like to share with
Mhm.
everyone because I think that's important
Oh,
too.
yeah.
But the physical aspect. So at my 1 year appointment with my neurologist, he said to me, Danielle, with your type of injury, you've done all the healing you're going to do. This is your new normal, and you need to shape your life around your symptoms. It's pretty much
Mhm.
verbatim what he said to me. And I
Mm.
remember going, like, in my head, I didn't say this out loud. I wish I had. Like, well, you're fired. Like, are you got to be kidding me? Like, I'm 24 years old, and you're telling me my destiny
Right.
is to sleep most hours of the day. Because I was having to nap every 3 hours. I had blackout fabric on my windows because I couldn't handle natural light. I couldn't hang out with people because it just felt miserable. And I thought, like, this is not going to be my life. There's just no way. I flat out refuse. And anyway, so we kept searching for things, and I found a cognitive therapist that had a brain injury support group.
Mhm.
So for the first time, I was around other people that had brain injury, which was really helpful because, like, my family and very close friends, like, I had a lot of friends disappear, like, just vanish,
Oh.
which hurt.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
but there were some that were there, and but they didn't get it. They wanted to understand, but they
Mhm.
couldn't. And it was like I felt like I was in this dark tunnel, and I had all these people like around me being supportive. I wasn't alone, but I felt so lonely because it was like they didn't get it, and they couldn't relate to it. And sometimes their words weren't helpful, like, oh, well, you look fine. I freaking know that I look fine, but I don't feel fine. Like, I wish that I had a cast or I had something that you could see that, like, I'm not okay. Um, and for sorry, there's like so many things to think about with that, but I'll pull it back because the mental emotional side we'll get to. Um, but for me, I just went, no, we're gonna keep searching. We're gonna keep looking. And in the support group, other ideas and things were shared, right? And we were kind of all sharing different things that had helped. And that helped me in a variety of ways, but nothing was really helping me to heal. Like I was still dealing with all of the same physical symptoms. And then my mom got a phone call from an acupuncturist that she knew. She had been a student of hers. My mom had owned a yoga studio. And everybody in that community knew what was going on with me and had thrown all sorts of ideas our way, right? And we tried them all. I mean, I was saying yes to everything. But at this point, I had not that I had given up, but it was almost like it was hurting to hope. Because it was like, well, I've tried everything and none of it's worked. And so this woman called and she said, I'm using it's a biotech discovery. It helps with cellular repair, helps the body to figure out where's their damage. It helps the body to get those cells repaired, doing what they're supposed to do, activating the genes that should be turned on that help with, inflammation and the immune system, all this stuff. And this is where my degree in biology actually got in my way because I said, my mom intuitively, right, is like, this is the answer. Like, we've been looking for it, we've been asking, and here it is. And I was like, show me the research. Like, I've never heard of redox signaling. Like, this is foo-foo. And like I said, just emotionally, I kind of reached this, like, I couldn't keep hoping. Like, I couldn't even be cautiously optimistic. But my mom started using it. Thank goodness. Like, this is just a blessing that happened. She said, well, I already bought the stuff, Danielle, so I'm going to drink it. And she had bone on bone in her hands, Michelle. Like, I don't know if you know anybody with that, but she couldn't even like make a full fist because there was just so much happening in her joints, every top knuckle. And 6 weeks of drinking this, she had full range of motion back. And I watched it happen. And I'm like, biologist, placebo? Like, like, did she think her way out of it? But my dad was like, there's no way she could have thought her way out of it. I want to try this stuff. So my dad starts using it because he had a bad knee. My dad, 10 days in, his knee's feeling better. Not wearing a brace when he's working out. He's having more energy in his workouts. And I'm watching this going like, how is this possible? And they kind of came to me and said, Danielle, we've researched this more. This is a huge field of science. It's too new. You didn't learn about it in school. And we think that you should give this 6 months and just see what it can do. It's native to your body. It literally can't hurt you. Like there's no risk. The only possible thing is a benefit. It could be additive, to your journey of healing. So let's see. And I agreed. I thought their logic was good. So I started on that. And Michelle, that's the thing that was the key that opened everything for me. It was not immediate, but about 3 months into using this, and of course, as a good biologist, I changed nothing else. I kept everything that I was currently doing the same. I had been plateaued for over a year. Like, we're 2 years out from my accident now. And 3 months in, the pounding in my head stopped for the first time in 2 years. And I started to be able to focus again. I started to have energy again. I wasn't having to nap. My parents were like, "You sure you don't want to lie down?" And I'm like, no, like I feel good. And my cognitive therapist, I'll never forget, she said to me, Danielle, I've worked with people with your type of injury for 30 years now. And I've never seen somebody have such a rapid recovery, like so far out from the initial trauma. With this type of injury, that doesn't happen. And what is that stuff you started drinking? And I was like, yeah, what is this stuff? That's when the biologist in me kicked back in and went, we got to know. So she was the catalyst for a lot. And it's just an amazing discovery of the potential that this has to help each person where they need it, to just help their body do what it's designed to do, right? To get back into balance.
Right.
So yeah, that was how my physical body started to get better. Yeah.
And it's almost like, if you don't mind talking about quantum healing.
Yes.
Okay. Because a lot of people talk about that's exactly what is going on. Can you explain that in that kind of terms of the quantum healing?
Of course. So people that understand this. So let's when I talk about the quantum level, right, we're talking about energy. Everything in this world is energy, and it's just densified. So our body is just it's a communication network that's just all energy exchange. And when you get down to the cellular level, you're talking about electrons transferring. Like, that's what we see in our physical universe is like, or there's an electron that goes here from there. It's an energy, that's energy moving. And with what the company's called ASEA that has this product, they've been able to stabilize these reductants and oxidants. So a reductant has an extra electron and an oxidant will take an electron. Okay. So this is how communication happens when we get down to this level, to the quantum level. And what ASEA has been able to do is create a liquid that you drink. And so when you drink it, basically all of this potential gets put into the system, energy potential gets put in, and the body knows exactly what to do with it. And all of a sudden it's like if you had a light bulb on a dimmer switch, and like the light bulb's sitting there and it's kind of dark, and then someone just puts the switch up and all of a sudden the full potential of the light bulb is seen because there's enough electricity. That's like what drinking redox does to your system. It's like the life force is increased. The communication is increased. All of a sudden, the energy is much more rapid, kind of like you see in kids, right? They heal quickly. They're like little Energizer bunnies, and you're like, holy cow, I got to rest. That's what this brings back to you. And so when you talk about this quantum level of healing, we're literally talking about this. And this I've also, for those that want to go there with me, if we go beyond the biology and we start talking about the energy body and we start talking about, these realms that are outside of the physical, right? We have that. And what we see with taking the redox is it's reaching that level. So it's shifting the energy body. It's shifting people that are healers, Reiki masters, quantum healers. I work with a lot of them, and they'll say like, it's amazing the shift in energy that happens in people that use this. And I can visually see like there's like a lightness around people. Like I call it the ASEA glow. Like you can see this energetic shift in people, and people will tell me that are in that realm. My intuition is deeper, this is helping to activate the crystals in my pineal gland, and my cells are literally shifting frequency, which is a different conversation. So
I love it.
But it's amazing. I just like, and
I mean, we could talk like a whole week of it.
Yeah, like it sounds like you're on point with this, so I can kind of go there. And it's like, yeah, it's incredible what's happening. And there are even like machines, like have you ever heard of the BioWell device?
No.
I think Joe Dispenza has used it in some of his research. It's a device that, I mean, like it's been around for a few decades, that was invented in Russia. But the essence of it is you put your finger on this thing, and I think through it's like Kirlian photography, it basically your energetic field responds to this. And so it is able to measure that response, which is able to then be put into a program that will show your energy field. Okay. And it also will show like your organs and different body systems and, where you're overactive or underactive or whatever. Really cool machine.
Yeah.
I met somebody and they said like, well, hang on, Danielle, like you're talking all this about redox and how it impacts all this. And he said like, my machine will show me. And I said, okay.
You're a proof biologist.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, game on. I know this stuff works. So I drove down. He has like a research center in Orlando. So I drove down, and I'm not far from there, like an hour and a half. And we had people coming in. And so we just like scanned them. Then they drank some of the redox, and there's also a topical. So we put the topical like on their vagus nerve because that gets into their system really quick.
Oh, okay.
And then we did a post scan. And I remember him looking at me going like, well, but how's that possible? I said, what? He goes, well, on this person, they had low energy in a certain area, and drinking this brought their energy like up to where it should. And he said, but this person had really hyper energy, like way overactive, which is usually like an indicator of maybe inflammation or something's off there. And he said, but drinking it brought the energy down. He said, products can't do both. And I said, welcome to redox. I said, it's just going into the body and allowing it to communicate. So if it's too much, it brings it here. If it's too little, it brings it up here. And it's what I've seen now for it's 8-9 years.
It's got an intelligence. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like kind of leaning, energy, has that intelligence.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So it's the same thing, it's basically the same thing. It depends upon your body. Everybody needs something different, and it knows once you drink it, and you get enhanced that way. So I love it. Absolutely love it. So I know that you did the body, and now you want to go to the brain and the self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we could talk all day on this.
I could talk forever on this. I get so excited, especially with people that get it, like beyond the physical realm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And you totally do. So
yeah.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the mental emotional side of things. I realized that my brain, meaning like my mind, was not helpful. When my doctor told me like, this is your new normal, I had the intuitive hit of like, you're fired. I'm going to heal. Like, get out of here. Right. But I also, up to that point, like I was severely depressed. I mean, you can imagine you're 23 years old, living the life of your dreams. And all of a sudden you're told you can never snowboard again, because if you hit your head, you risk worse happening. I couldn't work. I couldn't earn an income. I couldn't hang out with friends even. And like in that range, like, people are going out late at night, bars, like it's loud stuff. And I couldn't do it. And, my identity, my entire life had been wrapped in achievement. I was top in my class. I was best in my sport. I had all the medals. I had all that, I was like that person, and all of a sudden, I couldn't achieve. I couldn't do, like, I'm sitting on the sidelines. Life is happening. I've got friends going on to get, MBAs from Yale, from Harvard, getting PhDs, getting, becoming doctors. I told you about the one friend, and I'm watching all of this happen, and I'm sitting on the side, and it was just like, well, who am I? Like, if I can't do these things, can't even be like a good daughter, right? Because I was just like not nice. I tried to be, but it was just a lot. And I'm like, what is the point? Like, why am I here? And what is the point of all of this? And if I'm not all of those things, who am I? And I was in a situation where I was alone with my thoughts, because all I could do was sit in a dark room. And so how many people on this planet try to avoid that situation always? People don't like to sit alone. And here I was forced with it. And so I started to get to know my own brain and my own mind. And I reached a point where it was like, anything that was being said, it was like I was trying to go back into my past. And it was just so depressing, like trying to hold on to something that was just slipping further and further away. And then I'd think about my future and it would just give me complete anxiety because it was like, I don't know how we're going to navigate that because I can't even earn money. And, and I feel terrible. Like I've got 20 good minutes and then I'm done. And so I reached a point where I just said, these thoughts are literally hurting me. They need to stop. And, or I'm not going to stay on this planet. I mean, it got to the point where it was like the panic attacks were so severe that I was like, this is not a way to live. And I didn't realize the power of the present moment. And all of a sudden I would say, okay, Danielle, no past, no future now. What's going to make you happy right now? In the next 10 minutes, what can you do? And so I would do that. And if a thought came in, I would say, no. We're not having that thought. We're going to have a different thought. And I started to realize, wow, I have control of my mind. I do not have to listen to it. And my entire life, it had run me around, right? Because I believed that that's who I was. And all of a sudden it was like, no, like there is something behind this thing that feels more like me. And at the same time, meditation came into my world. My mom introduced me to Yoga Nidra, a guided meditation. And at the time we were using it to help retrain me how to sleep because my brain just like wouldn't turn off.
Oh, right.
But in doing that for the physical benefit, I was going into the space of the witness, unbeknownst to me. And I was getting in touch with like the true self, my higher self, like, my essence. And my depression and anxiety just went away. It was like this peaceful, inner, grounded, like light is the only way I can describe it. Just like bing is there. And I was like, oh, this has always been here. I didn't know. It was so clouded by my mind before. And so that was huge for me mentally, emotionally. And what's super interesting, Michelle, is when that realization happened and when I would say vibration shifted emotionally, that was when we got the phone call about what ultimately changed my physical health. And it was like,
wow,
I unlocked it, right? It was like, that was the lesson I had to learn. And I can't unlearn it. And that has just like, the light's just gotten brighter. And when I now teach others because I see people on a similar path where they've gone through a traumatic event or they've had their health taken or just, insert anything. Life has been great. Just the pandemic, for goodness sakes, rocked so many people.
Right.
I know that what I learned, I can pass forward to them and it will just light them up. And I've gone on to study now more yogic philosophy, like, well, where did this Yoga Nidra stuff come from? And like, what else do these people know? Because that one's pretty darn good. And I have a program called Inner Management Mastery that teaches this, like how to master the inner world, because that's what I've seen over the years is like where everybody falls down. And when I said at the beginning, like, oh, I'm just trying to figure out this human journey, like I want to help other people figure it out too. Like I haven't figured it all out, but I've gotten to a place that I think would be beneficial for other people to arrive at.
Yeah. And I think that's so important because that philosophy is we're all one.
Yeah.
If we help each other,
yeah,
then you'll get more downloads, because you're using that love to help heal others.
Oh.
And I think that is wonderful.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about your ebook real quick. That's online because I know that, what you learn, you write down a lot of times and you have, and it is on your website and anybody can download it for free. And it's called Mind Control. It's all in your head.
Yes.
So what was the inspiration behind that for you?
Well, truthfully, I want to write a full book, and I got overwhelmed by the idea. And so I went, okay, bite size. What are some little nuggets that I could give people that would be helpful? And so I just kind of shared, honestly, like what we talked about here, I just kind of shared a little bit of my own journey and how learning a couple of different things to master my mind, to be in control of my mind, allowed me to draw in the answers to what I needed and set me up on a trajectory that, is my life today, and that anybody can do this. Like anybody can do it. And it's wild. Like when we talk about, like, I look back and I'm grateful, like that. So that technology, the ASEA Redox, I realized like this got put in front of me for a reason. Number one, my physical health, but also here I am. I was a teacher. I have a degree in biology. Like, I think I'm supposed to help teach other people that this exists. And so I just started to do that. And I'm trying to do math in my head right now. It's 2024. It's 9 years. We're coming on 9 years. I've helped change the lives of thousands of people. And that's not hyperbole. Like, literally, it's reached thousands. And it's like, wow, like, how can you not have gratitude for the thing that puts you on the path?
Right.
Like, where would all these people be? You know?
That's right.
Yeah. And you just go, okay,
Yeah.
I sometimes I don't understand why things are unfolding the way that they are, but I'm going to trust it because something good is going to have to come out of it. It just has to.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Are you ready for your last question?
Sure. Yeah. Lay it on me.
Okay. All right. Let's bring out the wheel. Okay. Talk about teaching. Okay. This is where my teacher
I love
energy comes from.
I love it.
Okay. So let's go and spin it and see what it is. Oh. Okay. So, and I know that you love, love, love your job now.
Yeah.
But what would be your dream job
Michelle.
if you could,
Well, the thing is, it wouldn't be a job. It would be. I love, like, I have become an entrepreneur since my accident. And so I think like my dream is to be able to continuously have creative ideas that can allow me to do something that brings my passion and my purpose to others and can lift others. Because like you said so beautifully, like, we're all connected.
Right.
And I know that. And I know that humanity has a big need right now. There's a lot of angst in the world. And I know that I have some things that can help. So I think my dream would be that it gets out to more. What I'm doing can reach those, and that I'm continuously fed with new creative ideas to support.
So what is your favorite place that you want to send your potential clients to?
Oh, favorite place?
Your favorite, well, like, is it your website?
Oh,
Is it your email, or where? Sorry.
I'm like, are we going to Iceland together? I don't know.
Yeah. Where's your favorite place just to gather everybody? If somebody wants to reach you, what's your favorite
Instagram.
social media?
Yeah, Instagram. Come over to Instagram.
Okay.
It's my name. It's Danielle Matthews. I've got an underscore on either end because apparently there's another Danielle Matthews out there, but the one with the underscores is me, front and back. And I'm sure you'll link it and they can find it. But yeah, reach out and let me know that you came across this. I'd love to hear, like, what resonated. Did something help? How can I support you? Like, please reach out.
Oh, absolutely. Now, before we go, can you think of an inspirational statement or something that is inspiring that you love to tell people?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a question. What is this challenge making possible? If you were to greet every difficulty, hard thing, unexpected, just go, what is this challenge making possible? And I promise you, when you ask the right questions, answers will be revealed and you will start to see, oh, wow, this is actually beneficial for these reasons. And it'll shift and change everything for you.
Well, Danielle, thank you so much for sharing your inspirational story, because I know sometimes it's not easy, even though you find the gratitude in it. Sometimes, it depends upon the day. I'm sure that it's not easy to, tell people about, but I appreciate you. And thank you so much for being on this show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you. And everybody else, if this resonated with you, please share with others. And again, I will put Danielle's information in there and the product that she's talking about also in there so that you know where to find it. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I will see you next week.